Welcome back to the In the Money Media YouTube channel or podcast feed. That's right. This is both an audio and visual experience. Some people may say one is better than the other, but I'm not really going to dive into too many reasons as to why. Firstly, if you're watching this on the In the Money Media YouTube channel, please consider liking and subscribing. PTF, who runs this whole operation here at In the Money, has told me that if we can hit 14,000 subscribers on this channel, he may write me a personalized thank you card. And I could really use it at this time. So many people in my life have been yelling at me, and it would be real nice for one person to show a little bit of gratuity and compassion. I hope you guys can get there so that I can experience it. That said, on this audio-visual experience of the Harness Players podcast, we are going to be looking at the Hambletonian and Hambletonian Oaks eliminations over at the Meadowlands on Saturday, July the 26th, 2025. And it's not just any other Hambletonian. There have been so many Hambletonians, 99 as a matter of fact, which means that upcoming is the Centennial Hambletonian, not over at the Meadowlands, because it's been at many other tracks, but Meadowlands will be hosting the 100th Hambletonian. And lastly, before we dive into those races, I also want to encourage, depending on when you're viewing this, to peek the other Harness Players podcast we had this week. It was a live roundtable looking at the Delvin Miller Audios taking place the same day as the Hambletonian and Hambletonian Oaks eliminations. That was over at the Meadows. It was a great discussion. And again, if you have time to look at that or listen to that wherever you may be vrooming to, I would encourage you to do so. Now, let's bring in our great panel to talk about these Hambletonian and Hambletonian Oaks eliminations. They include many of your In the Money media favorites, including Mikee P, including Thomas Svensen, including John Rallis. And just because these are the only guys I have doesn't mean everybody else who shows up on these aren't our favorites. They're just the only ones who were available on a Wednesday afternoon. And I think that's reasonable. John, you know, you're a busy guy. You try to pocket things in. Thomas, a busy guy. Mikey, I mean, you do these no matter what. We know that you're not a busy guy of all of us, but thank you all for being here.
Okay. I found my Hambo hat, Ray. Look, established 1926. You see that?
Which is crazy because
make the masses happy.
This is the 100th Hambletonian. This always throws me off because it was established in 1926, but in 2025, it's the 100th. And so there's some people who might just be like basic math aficionados who are waiting to go to the 100th Hambletonian next year because 2026 minus 1926 is 100. Don't go then. That's 101. You'll have missed it already. Let's figure out if we can figure out who can win inside of these races, though. We're going to look at all 6 eliminations total. There's 3 eliminations for the Hambo, 3 for the Oaks, because into the drop box went 21 Colts and or Geldings for the Hambletonian, 24 fillies. No fillies trying to beat the boys this time around in the Hambo, and I mean that's okay. They can do their own thing. They race for a $500,000. The boys race for $1 million, and both of these now Grade 1 harness races as 2025 continues to be the first year of graded stakes action in harness racing. Let's jump right to it, boys. The first of the 6 eliminations comes in race number 6 on Saturday, July the 26th at the Meadowlands. And already a solid matchup with only 7 going postward. Top 3 from each elimination advance. The highest the fourth place finisher with the highest lifetime earnings will also advance to the 10-horse final. We got Montserrat at the center of the gate, who's really been flexing some might from Andrew Harris, but I think a lot of eyes are going to be looking at a Moticon legacy, the well-bred son, or I should say well-bred, he's well-bred son of Moticon Hanover, a really noteworthy stakes-placed mare for determination. First things first, John, because this is an important qualifier question, and we know a Moticon Legacy coming in off a qualifier. No other guy to ask this but you. What do we make of a horse like a Moticon Legacy not winning inside of his qualifier coming into the Meadowlands? Because this is a pattern that I noticed Luke Blay uses time and time again, where he's looking for a specific type of finish out of his horses versus whether they win, whether they go a good time. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would put no stock in that qualifying effort if you're going to base it off of wins or losses. But I don't think that's. I think people who follow closely and handicap qualifiers intently, I think that you're going to notice that it was a really, really good effort. He never really showed him any racetrack. He kept him tight in behind some rivals' helmets. That was a really, really nice effort there. I mean, you could watch the qualifier, and the horse that stands out to you the most in that morning prep will be a Motocon Legacy. And Randy and I were debating this on air as well when we were working at Mohawk regarding Motocon Legacy, and he said there's no way he's going to go into the Hambletonian eliminations off a qualifier where he trotted in 57 and change, right? He figured he wanted another tightener in him, a faster mile in him. And right away, I'm thinking to myself, Forbidden Trade, when he won the Hambletonian, I mean, if you watch his qualifier leading up to his elimination, he was second in 57 and 4. So he's going to have these guys tight. Luke has a certain way of doing things, and it works. You can't even question it because he brings these horses ready for these big money events. Motocon Legacy's qualifier was excellent. All eyes on him in the Hambletonian elimination, and he's going to be the one to beat. And I mean, he's just proven so far this year that he deserves to be in the conversation as the top sophomore trotter, at least coming into Saturday.
I mean, especially off of that win in the good times, he broke the Canadian record unexpectedly. I mean, no one really is expected to break a record when you think about it, but he had been going 53 and such, and even Wah was surprised at how good of an effort a Motocon Legacy put in to win in that race. He followed that with a solid victory in the Zweig, not dealing with the same drifting issue that plagued him in the stretch drive of the good times. Another thing to note at recording, we don't have morning lines. You're going to see driver duplicates in these entries as well. You'll want to go to US Trotting or whatever for when program are finalized for these eliminations. Safe to say, though, Louis Waugh will drive a Motocon Legacy. I think safe to say he is going to be the favorite too. But Thomas, I have been impressed with what Montserrat has brought to the table in many of his races. He's mostly been a runner-up type of horse, but I attribute that to just the type of competition he's been going against. Granted, this could be another situation where he moves into a second-place spot if he can't overhaul a horse like a Motocon Legacy. But how do you rate that Andrew Harris trainee inside of this spot?
Like if you go back a month or two, I have had Montserrat maybe top 5 on my schedule for the Hambletonian, and couple of races there he did not super impress me. If you go back to the Vernon Down, to the Barbados Classic up there, then he won a cheap overnight at Meadowlands. I was very impressed by last performance when he went first up the 3/8 of mile with Super Chapter, and if he had Hidalgo's trip there, he will. I think he will be very, very close, maybe super close to Super Chapter, and it was a huge mile with Montserrat. Depends. Like when you have the draw you have for the Hambo, if you don't win, it doesn't matter if you're a second or third. So this is a race for a Modigan Legacy. I love that horse. Like Rallis is saying that Luke always have them ready when they get into the races. He never go fast with them in a qualifier. He liked them to finish fast, and Emoticon Legacy have showed everything this year that he is on his A game. He is the horse to beat. Montserrat is maybe the horse to beat for the second place, and it's for me. I have a hard time catching maybe the third horse, because Fashion Green 6 for 6 had a break here after April, getting back with a qualifier and won in a sire stake down in Philly, and it's hard for me to put him in this race. Mesuga made a break last time. He is a very good horse to follow horses. I know we're going to race with shoes in the elimination. Greenma, it's been okay. It's a step up for Greenma. Mr. Moten is getting better and better. He struggled on the last turn. First race when he was second behind Nordic Catcher, he struggled very, very much on the last turn. He's been better and better, and he is, for me, maybe my third choice in the race. Blanc. I talked with Marcus earlier this week, and he have not decided yet if he's going to pull the shoes in the elimination. If he got an easy elimination or a good post, he was going to race with shoes. Now we have post 7 with Blanc. He finished good in the Stanley Dancer, but how good was it? Was it good because some of the other competition was not good that day? I am going back to that. I think many of his competition was bad that day because I have not been super impressed by Blank. So I'm looking forward to this race, but right now I have nothing special without Emoting and Legacy and Montserrat.
Well, and Mike, this is one of the many eliminations, I should say, which you pointed out, before we started recording. It seems like there's a distinguishment between who are the main factors and who are the ones who are hoping to get lucky inside of these races, either to make the final or even come next week to maybe get at the $1 million prize. It feels safe to say that Montserrat, Emoticon, Legacy, they're probably in the A tier of this group. And I wonder, at least for your handicapping, because obviously that means they're going to take a bulk of the money, what of the lower contingent do you feel may be able to break through and offer some value?
Well, I mean, I just think Fashion Green's the horse. If you want to try to take on the Com, I don't know that he's quite the level of the other two, but it is an elimination race. And, we talk about this all the time where these guys don't want to empty the tank. The odds of the 2 and the 4, as long as they stay flat, they're most likely going to make the final here. Fashion Green is undefeated. And if you look at that last race, he really never took a deep breath. He was never asked in there. Now, he was 1-9. He was supposed to win, but it's Jim Campbell. He has the ability to bring these horses into these races to perform and to peak at a top effort, just like some of these other guys like Blay and, like Harris. So, yeah, I do think that this horse is dangerous, and especially in an elimination race, you can get things like horses like this that step up, that they're looking to see what they have now with this horse. This is the first time you're going to be tested, I think, and I expect them to really, go for it here. And he's going to be the third choice, probably in this race, and I think that represents some value. Blay in an elimination on top. I don't know. No thanks, especially at a very short price. So I would probably, if I was playing the pick 4, I would maybe try to beat Emoticon here. That would just be my take. And I understand. Why not? Why not? So why do you want to start a pick 4?
I'm okay. I'm okay with you wanting to take a shot with a horse at a quote unquote short price, but I'm not sure where this notion is that because it's elimination, we have to fade like Luke Blay. You do know Emoticon Legacy won his Breeders' Crown elimination too last year.
Okay, that's fine. But I mean, they just qualified in 57-2. He's not blasting his horse into this race. I mean, come on.
Mike, he qualified.
We've seen Hold
on a second. He qualified.
This is the same guy that's always saying, this one's going to do this. And off these qualifiers, you love these qualifiers.
Let me tell you one thing. Emoticon Legacy qualified in 59 behind Lasting Dream going into his Breeders' Crown Elim last year. Never wanted to angle off of that stablemate's helmet. Was so close, right behind her. He was loaded. You know what he did? He won his elimination in 52. If you guys still think that time matters in qualifiers, you guys are living in the past.
I don't care about the time. I care about the intent.
You're saying that he just qualified.
I care about the intent. The big money's next week.
So what? They're still. You think they're going to take back with a 1-5 shot?
They can get post 10 if they don't win.
But there is no chance that the Emoting and Legacy will not be in the front.
He's going to be cutting this month. There's no
he's going to be cutting this month.
Let me tell you one thing. There's no worried about emptying the tank. He's going to get so much respect in that elimination in a field of 7. You're saying that nobody wants to gut out a horse. You think those other contenders are going to want to quote unquote gut out a horse? He's going to get respect on the front end because he's the best horse in the race going into his elim, and somebody else is going to have to show up. If it turns into a sprint, there's some other ones that can go with him. Absolutely. But for me, he's going to get the respect, and it's in a 7-horse elim where top 3 make it. These other contenders are kind of like, I don't know how much depth we're going to see to some of these other trotters in comparison to the top field. To your point about Fashion Green, Mike, he's an intriguing player because he's never lost a race in 6 starts in his career, but he hasn't really faced anybody. He's going to be 4th choice in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be 3rd. I think Mr. Mouton's going to be 3rd choice comfortably in this spot. I think that he to me is the intriguing factor in here because we have some people who already rate him as a top 5 Hambletonian contender. I've actually liked what I've seen from him, but to Thomas's point, I don't think he's maybe gotten a lot better on that final turn. I think he's gotten a little bit better on that final turn, but you have to become a lot better turning for home because you don't want to give up lengths to these caliber of trotters. But Emoticon likes there's no empty. He's going to be absolutely ready from a fitness standpoint, he's going to be perfectly fine. And he's going to be the one that you're going to have to catch. And at worst, I think he sits a 2-hole to Montserrat, because I think Montserrat's going to want to be put in play. But I'm not really worried about. I think this intent sometimes is overstated when it comes to eliminations now, because I think people are starting to realize the value in wanting to draw well in these spots.
The last several years, there's been upsets in these eliminations. So don't tell me that these horses, there can't be upsets in these eliminations. Because it happens all the time. It happens every year.
Here's the thing. I'll tell you one thing. I think you're thinking about it that maybe drivers don't want to empty the tank out. I'll tell you one thing. I think there is times where trainers admittedly say, I haven't fully cranked up my horse just yet. I don't have him at 100%, but I don't think drivers per se are going to want to quote unquote be overly conservative in this spot. I think if they've got a favorite, they're going to race them. You know what I mean? That's just in my opinion.
And again,
I have a big with the draw they have in this with the Hambletonian, when only the winners is drawing 1 to 5. It's going to be some of those races. It's going to be like a qualifier sleeping.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
but again, if you get second and draw post 10,
but
like these guys know that.
Yeah, but you don't going to see Tim Tetrick try to win with Fashion Green. He's just going to be happy if he goes to the final.
Well, and again, I think
never lost.
But I think that speaks more to just knowing what caliber of horse you have. And to Mike's point, Fashion Green isn't exposed yet, and I could see that being the potential value. He was able to go at 55 and change back half. He's been competing against weaker competition. He's one of those horses outside of the fray that is probably not going to take money, but has the opportunity to show more. But that said, we already know Emoticon Legacy. He broke a Canadian record. We know that his ceiling is higher than potentially Fashion Green's, and so that's where it becomes precarious trying to figure that. Honestly, I think the bigger question side of this race is, can Montserrat out sprint Emoticon Legacy? Because Montserrat is one of the best grinders I have seen of this entire crop, in part because of just how, by design, how Dave Miller drives this horse. He's able to go first up. He's able to keep taking air, and he's able to continuously gain ground. His only obstacle, again, has just been he's encountered really strong pace setters. Super Chapter is a really strong front stepper. Maryland's been a really strong front stepper as well. And so Emoticon Legacy, we don't know if he's able to kick up in like a 26 and change final quarter or something like that. And that can be a 1 or 2 length difference depending on how Montserrat cruises in. That could win him an elimination. I think that's more the conversation.
Good horses can outspin other rivals, though. I mean, there is a possibility of that. I'll say one thing, though. I don't care if Mr. Mouton hasn't lost a race yet. I mean, he's only raced 4 times throughout his young career. I think the quality of competition he's taken on in comparison to Fashion Green, who hasn't lost yet, there's no blemishes on his resume other than the fact that he hasn't really taken on any premier Hambletonian, contenders. We saw Mr. Mouton; he was a runner-up to Go Dog Go, albeit Go Dog Go was phenomenal in that effort. You could see Todd never really asked him; he left the plugs in, but he's taking on the likes of Nordic Catcher, who's a Hamble contender here. He's taken on the likes of some other Hambletonian contenders as well. Super Chapter, he competed against him. Oh no, he was scratch 6, sorry. But he has taken on horses, at least competing in these eliminations, who at least have shown that there's some of them are the top contenders as well. So I think for him, there's more room for growth regarding him. I think for Fashion Green, though, there's going to be value. I just don't know how deep he is just yet.
But if we see it like this, I understand like you try to show to go for value. But if Fashion Green was driven by Yannick Greengrass, and Emoticon Legacy was driven by Scott Sharon or Tim Tetrick, I would understand the scenario, because Yannick, he can steal elimination. You're never going to see Tim Tetrick be very aggressive in elimination.
The last point I'll at least make in Mike's case before we move on, if you look to a qualifier on April 15th, Fashion Green did beat Flightline. For all the flat bettors, they obviously know how much that means this horse might be able to contend. Whether that's the same flight line. Yeah, I don't know if that's the same flight line or not. But, there's an overlap here in that first Hambo elimination. Let's move into the first Hambletonian Oaks elimination, which is race number 7. I found this to be a really good betting puzzler. I'm imagining Lady Landia or our Duchess are probably going to be favored inside of this spot. But I'll make my case, and then I'm going to throw it to Mike firstly, since he's obviously on the value hunt here. Mike, obviously we know Lady Landia, late to the party, but Ox Fenstedt, really good at priming his targets. The Hambletonian Oaks, very clearly the target for that Breeders' Crown winner. But that said, our Duchess also has been priming into this race. I thought she raced tremendously in the Del Miller Memorial, finishing second to What a Bit Hanover. But those Del Miller races are really worth analyzing trip-wise because that Yotilli race was such a shuffle. I think we saw some horses not put in a performance that just in general, they weren't given an opportunity to race. And I think that's where the value lies here. And I'm curious if you're thinking the same way.
Well, how's this race going to be bad? I mean, Lady Landia is probably sub-even money in the race. I know she was 9-1 last time, but Yotilli was 1-9. But everyone's going to look at that 26-3. She was held up in the back the entire race and then just came blowing by everything. What does Ock do here? Does he go forward? I think he could. Why not? I mean, he probably has the best horse here. He doesn't want to screw around. And this is a horse that I could see actually being put into this race and not screwing around this time. So that would be my thought on that one. Like you said, our Duchess, I thought, raced very well. Some of those other horses took shuffles in that Yotilli race. And that, like you said, it makes it very curious. I'd be curious to see what Thomas says about the Lady Hanover in here. I don't think I want the 5. I don't really want the 6. I don't really like Champagne Problems either. I know she had trouble in that race and she had no rule whatsoever. What kind of trip does she get in here? But I'm not crazy about the Nancy Tactor horses right now. So I don't know. I don't think this is a very good betting race. If you like the price, go ahead. Probably the 1 or 7 wins the race, in my opinion.
Okay, well, you don't see it this way because, Thomas, my thought here is Champagne Problems maybe more so than Cadena, because Cadena, maybe I should admit, maybe not up to the caliber of these fillies, but again, just given her pedigree, I feel like something might show up at some point. But Champagne Problems was victim of that massive shuffle in the Yotilli race last time, and I don't think that Dexter really had any point to get her going or get her going in a way that would get her a good check. And so what I'm wondering here is if in the smaller field this time around, she could be the value of the race because we know that she can be okay. I think when she lost to Yotilli 2 starts ago, parking the whole mile, you can forgive that effort. Dex can probably work a ground-saving trip, make a move, and finish well. Don't you feel that she's probably the one who's really ignored in this race?
I think so. Maybe if you see the value point. For me, like after I saw the list for horses getting entered to the Hambletonian Oaks. I know Rallis was last year saying that What a Bit Hanover will win the Oaks, and I was thinking the same before I saw Vernon when she started when Arkit asked her for a little. I see the same thing when he had air plugs on her. She's not like, she don't want to work like she did one last year, What a Bit Hanover. But Lady Landia, she has been struggle a little. Coming back, but after the qualifier and the race last time, I've been seeing the replay 3-4 times, and I'm super impressed. And she has been, after the reports I have, she has been training better home. For me right now, Lady Landia, I will be going hard on her on the winning the Oaks. So the question is, does he going to win the elimination? I think she win the elimination if his Aki is aggressive with her, but every time I think Aki is going to be aggressive from the start, he don't do it. Every time I think he's going to take off from the gate, he go to the lead. I'm never right with Aki on Meadowlands. If Champagne Problem can be in the front, I think they're going to be very hard on Dexter because I know the connection around the horse has been critical to Dexter Dunn's drive on Champagne Problems. I think this time it could be a race where he tried to take no prisoners, at least be very, very close. But I think also if Aki comes early, he's going to let Aki go and sit in the 2-hole. But I don't think she beats Lady Landia. So it's a very tactical race because it's 7-horse field. I know Aki believe in Landia's speed. So maybe, but then you have, what is Kevin Oscarson going to do with the family or sound judgment? She can leave. Cadena have not showed me anything the 2 last races. Delaney has been racing good after a couple of little, I don't going to say brutal trips, but rough trips. Our Duchess has been racing good. It's for me, Lady Landia, or I can see the value on Champagne Problems also, because I think she can maybe steal this race, if not Aki. If Aki try to take her off the gate and race her from off the pace, then I see Dexter maybe steal this race.
That is a good point, and I hadn't really considered what Svanstedt's tactics would be from the outermost post. I'm inclined to think Oscarson is going to leave with sound judgment, because just to my memory, especially her marquee win in my mind was at Lexington last year. And if I remember correctly, that was just off of like a pocket trip or just a sitting close type of trip. And then she was able to pounce. And so I could see them maybe wanting to orchestrate something similar given the wide draw. And most of the other horses can just kind of take back, aside from Champagne Problems, who might get an aggressive drive. Our Duchess probably going to want to climb into the race. Lasting Dream maybe shows a bit of speed. That's also a really well-bred filly for Determination. Dream Together was kind of a not a B grade stakes mare, but at one point she was the lead Belay mare of her crop. I think around the tail of the Hanover era. Who?
John loves that horse.
I didn't think John was around for Dream Together, because he is just like a little baby inside of the business. He's only 3 years old. But John, I am curious how you see this race, because Lady Landia, I mean, for her first start off the bench to be that sprint home in the Del Miller, that obviously is that's a positive sign coming into the Hambletonian Oaks. Mm-hmm. But do you think that just in the second outing that she's prepared to go a big aggressive mile, or do you think that she doesn't have to from here?
Oh, she's prepared to go an aggressive mile, but I think to Thomas's point, it's just what do you expect from her in this elimination setting? I thought she warmed up incredible. I remember sending out a couple texts to people and saying, "Well, you should just see the way that this filly is warming up." She was moving really, really well. I was so impressed with them. And there's some horses you don't know what to make of it when you see them warming up, right? Sometimes they can put in clunkers. Sometimes they can kind of race to how they look warming up. But she looked incredible. I didn't think she would beat Otilli, but she got away in a bad spot. But she did. She raced really well to be second in that effort. We don't know, to Thomas's point, we don't really know what we're going to expect from Oka in these elimination races. We saw Warwi Michelle get buried last year. She ended up being primed for a big effort in the final, and what many believed was an overlay, because that was a good elimination effort. We saw even the one that Dexter was driving, was it French Champagne? And the elimination got no match for Allegiant, but one that was kind of, conservatively handled in that elimination as the favorite in that spot. So outside draw here to work with. I think Oka knows that he's got probably the best filly in the race. It's just a matter of what kind of trip or effort are we going to see from her off the gate. To Mike's point, I mean, if there's a race where maybe you can kind of anticipate somebody else, kind of catching Oka napping potentially in this spot, I think this is the race maybe to try and play against. You guys mentioned every other filly, and I think they've all raced really well. I think Tim Tetrick drove the best race on our Duchess last week, and he just got out sprinted by a filly that many of us believe is probably better. I thought that was the move to make if you're Tim, and our Duchess has really raced well all throughout her young career. Lasting Dream, though, I'll tell you what, inside draw to work with. We spoke about the connections in the past already earlier on in the show. That was a nice win in an overnight last time out. I know she was supposed to get the job done, but that was a nice mile, 53-4. One thing that really kind of intrigues me here is when I got a chance to talk to Louis about this filly a couple weeks ago, is he said this is the soundest she's ever felt throughout her young career, and she was racing really well as a rookie. I know just 3 wins in how many starts last year, and 2 wins in 9 starts. But she took on some tough company all throughout the season. She was second in the Mohawk Million as well, taking on the boys in that outing. So inside draw to work with, I could see her sitting close. I could see her getting a really big piece of it. The race goes through Lady Landia. But if she's got too much work to do, it doesn't matter how good of a kick she's got. She might come into that final being sharp. And Oka's got a 1-2 punch. So I'm not sure, you know what I mean? He's got Lady Landia and What a Bit Hanover. He's got 2 fillies who are probably the 1-2 in terms of how he ranked them going into these eliminations. So it's going to be curious to see how he's going to approach this race, especially given Lady Landia has had just 1 start heading into this elim.
I feel like every elimination offers its own unique puzzle as we're going to move into the second Hambletonian elimination of the 3 on Saturday. This one features Super Chapter, who I imagine will go favored inside of this $83,000 and change elimination. Of course, we talk a lot about, what's the shoeing going to be on this horse, on that horse, and all that other fun stuff. This race, I think especially, is worth noting, shoeing in particular, because on a jet plane has been on Noel Daly's been on record about how light and day this horse is, no shoes and shoes. So, John, I guess I'll ask you first because you may have more insight on this. Do you know if they're going to go no shoes with on a jet plane inside of this elimination?
No, I do not, as of right now, know what approach they're going to, unless Thomas does.
I was going to say, why wouldn't you ask Thomas?
Yeah, I'm not in the. If I was in the paddock, it's a different story. We're not live from the paddock here.
I was at Magic Acres today when on a jet plane trained, and I asked Noel if he was going to race with no shoes in elimination, and he said no, he's going to race with shoes, and if he goes to the final, no shoes in the final.
Okay, so that means Super Chapter wins this race, right?
Yeah, and then they need to change it at Meadowlands. Super Chapter was listed with no hind shoe last time, but he had shoes. He had shoes on.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah, I think I was speaking.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, but it's the graphic. It happened. You need to be like Edison Hatter, like a NASA guy, to understand the graphic at Meadowlands, because it's either a wrong number or wrong name on the who is listed with no shoes or shoes. So
well, I mean, we remember what Super Chapter did in that elimination, though. The fact that he did that with shoes, I feel like he doesn't need shoes or no shoes in this elimination. He was handily putting away Montserrat, who I was just, lauding a few races ago. So reason to me says that Dexter just does the same thing he did last time. And if anything, the horse is probably a little better, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I think that he's gonna, if you're in Dexter's shoes, I think that
or Dexter's no shoes, because he may go shoeless too.
You've got two horses that were going to be prime Hambletonian contenders. So I think for Dexter, this is going to be decision time for him in this elimination, right? I think many believe he's going to go to Maryland, and Maryland hasn't put forth a bad effort so far this year, and we'll get to him in the other elimination. But I think you want to know what you have for sure when you're going with Super Chapter, and he's going to get respect. I expect him to cut this mile. That was an impressive effort for me over on the big track. I know that maybe hasn't been as consistent on the bigger oval, but I thought he raced really well. I always liked him. I've come on record last year saying that was the best trotter in Mealander's barn last year. And Maryland just went on a vicious run from his win in the Wellwood all the way on towards the rest of the season. I like Super Chapter's handiness. I like the way that he's push button. He can do just about anything off the car. He's pretty versatile. But in a race like this, when you're going to command a lot of respect, he's going to be the one. I think that is obviously going to be the one to beat, and he's going to be the one cutting this mile. To your point about on a jet plane, though, he is better with no shoes, but he's also better with a target to chase. And you saw last week he was racing on the lead, and you heard Andy was speaking in a post-race interview saying that, I just kind of had to remind him a little bit. He was pleased with his effort on the front end, but he's always been better with the target. I see no reason why he doesn't have every opportunity to work out a two-hole trip behind the Super Chapter, but I think that Yannick Gingras and Gap Kronos are going to want to have other plans in that race too. But there is a horse in here that we're going to get to, and I'm sure that you were planning on mentioning, though, Maximus Miras, who's the biggest wild card, but he seems to be a horse trending the opposite way, a horse that was probably a top 3 Hambletonian contender coming into this year. I just don't see him, being at that level at this point. Now, I want to ask even Thomas, but for you, I mean, we've seen this in the past with Lucas. He brings in Rebuff, obviously, with lightly raced into these Hambletonian limbs. Maximus Miras just one start. Like, I just haven't seen enough from him now to kind of peg him as a main player, even off that 4th place effort.
Now, the plan was with Maximus Miras was the same plan as Rebuff, but right now he is 2-3 weeks behind that schedule. And normally, like when he started in Reynolds, or was it Tompkin Garrison? He had one race before the Stanley Dancer Rebuff. He went 49 in Stanley Dancer, and it was they went 56 to the half last time. I think the back half of Maximus Miras was 55 and a piece, and he's racing with heavy shoes, heavy belly boots. I'm not sure if it's going to be any changes. Maybe the belly boots is coming off. I think the plan is just to see if we can try to qualify to the final, and then what is Scotty going to do from the 7 hole? If he take him off the gate, it's going to be behind horses like Rendezvous and Gimpanzi Dancer. So. On his A game, Maximus Miras is definitely a Hambo horse, but I want to see a little more. I know Varigate is going to go with no shoes, and it's not going to be a factor to win the elimination, but he can be a factor to go to the final. Super Chapter impressed me. I've been a super high fan of Super Chapter, but I didn't think it was going to be a huge factor for him on the big tracks like Bern and Meadowlands. But he impressed me when he can cut the mile on those big tracks against big horses. And I think he's definitely going to be maybe a 1-5, maybe 1-9. I wouldn't be shocked if he's 1-9 either, because it's not many horses here you can see get Gap Kronos. But what they're going to do with Gap Kronos, that's maybe the biggest question mark here, because he is a different horse with no shoes. And I think he raced with shoes in Stanley Dancer, so I'm expecting him to get the shoes off, and then he can be close to Super Chapter. And on a jet plane with shoes, he's just a player to go to the final. It's Super Chapter all the way, but 1-9. I will take Emoticon Legacy more 1-5 than I take Super Chapter 1-9. What do you say about that, Mike?
Really?
Well, I was just about to say, Mike is the key to this. Is Super Chapter worth 1-9 here?
Mike, you are the key.
Here's the difference, though. Like, I think that the emoticon, at least that there's some horses that I do think can challenge that one and
Montserrat
have more talent. Yeah, I think if Montserrat was in this race, would you like? Because we liked Montserrat last time versus Super Chapter, if you recall.
Yep.
So I just think that this.
If he had Hidalgo's trip last week.
Well, Super Chapter got tons of respect in that race. What kind of respect is he going to get in this race? I mean, I think this is an easier race than the last time. So what? I mean, I don't know. I mean, what's going to get him beat here? Well, I don't see nothing's going to challenge him. They're not going to go that hard. It's going to be a waltz as far as I'm concerned. It's not worth betting against this horse. I don't think in this spot. I just don't see anyone with enough talent to beat him in this race. And I really, what would be really good is if this horse airs in this elimination, and then we can bet against them next week.
There's only one thing that I think is going to be Super Chapter, and it's the silent variable. It's whether or not there's any phlegm that somehow shows up. That always seems to be the case when a horse puts in a subpar effort. There's just a little bit of too thick mucus, but Thomas, I'm sure, can attest. Marcus is going to have that horse fully hydrated. So we're going to move. What'd you say?
It's a little cool thing too that the Hanover Shoe Farm have bought into Super Chapter, so he's gonna be a stud at Hanover Shoe Farm.
Oh, okay. So that's the industry gears are already turning, coming up towards this $1 million Hambletonian. Another maybe outside detail for the handicapping. Just again, how much they think of Super Chapter. I mean, he's already proven himself as a pretty good horse. Let's dive into another elimination. However, let's go on to race number 9. Race 9 is the second elimination for the Hambletonian Oaks. 8 go postward in this division. We have Luna Lovegood to the inside, the favorite in last year's Breeders' Crown, who seems like she's back onto her breaking antics over this track. Of course, the horse that John wanted to book as the 2025 Hambletonian Oaks winner. What a Bid Hanover, landing post 6 inside of this spot. And we got to wonder what some of the other well-bred fillies have to offer here too. Deja Blue retreated from her pocket ride in the Del Miller Memorial, finished 10th of 11. Vogish, to her credit, had a wide draw to overcome, and I think that stymied her more than anything inside of her actual ability caused her to finish 9th inside of that race. This is a pretty loaded elimination where I think the conversation has to start specifically with John Rallis. So, John, I'm going to put you on the big screen here. John, you were on record the same way you were with Super Chapter, that he was probably Melander's best horse, and now it's time for another check-in. Are you at this point in time thinking What a Bid Hanover is still the Hambletonian Oaks lock?
Yeah, I still have the belief that she's the lock here to win the Hamble Oaks. I just haven't really seen anything from some of the other fillies that kind of make me say, kind of put her at the same level in terms of their gears. I think she's raced really well over her last 3 tries. And listen, they were really conservative with her last year. And we've seen more aggressive approaches with this filly over the last few tries. But I know she won last week, but it's not like Oka left out of there, but he kind of wasn't like overly aggressive. I mean, she almost got out sprinted. So there wasn't like a sense of urgency with her even last week in that race at the Meadowlands. So with this filly, though, it's a little different with Lady Landia because Lady Landia has had 1 start, throughout her sophomore campaign. I could see her being a little bit more conservatively handled than this filly. I really do think I'm confident that Oka is going to be aggressive with this filly in this elimination, because I really do think that he wants to assure himself a good draw. I think that he wants to keep, just take any element of a bad draw out of the question. Win this elimination, get yourself a good draw, because I think that this is going to be I think this is a really special filly. And you know what? I think that I was talking to Oka earlier on when he was at Mohawk, just before those Armbro flight eliminations, and I said, "Oh, are you thinking of handing the lines over to what a bit?" Because we have seen some quality trotters that Oka kind of just sits behind and will hand the lines over to a Dexter or Yannick in the past. He says, "I'm sticking with her all year." So this is he says he loves this filly. He's confident in this filly. Her efforts, I should say, have given me no indication to kind of steer off of her. I think there's some other ones definitely with an opportunity, but I'm going to go with What a Bit Hanover here and just hope that she can get the job done. And again, we have seen a little bit of a different element to her now. Now we know that she can leave the gate. I think we always knew she could leave the gate. It's a matter of, I think he just wanted to teach her some certain things. And yeah, it was frustrating for handicappers and players, but he seems to be wanting to put it together at the right time, and everything's aiming towards this Saturday and the next one.
All right,
John, who do you think has more talent, though? Do you think she has more talent, or do you think Lady Landia has more talent?
I really do. I really do think What a Bit. I really do.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Main thing here, and there's no pun intended in saying this because she's racing in the first elimination. I'll go to Thomas with this. Do we think that John has sound judgment here on What a Bit Hanover?
I think he had right last year, and he has been sticking with her, and she has been maybe the filly that I was hard for a couple of weeks ago. And I tweeted that What a Bit Hanover would win the Oaks with Dexter Dunn driving, because I never get right with Aki on a big track. But what I did see about Lady, but that was before Lady Landia almost had qualified. So what I did see about Lady Landia, I loved her last year, and she grew much this year. She was very small as a 2-year-old. And what I did see last week, and what I've seen from What a Bit Hanover the last 2 races, I didn't like her on Vernon. It could be a reason for that. You shouldn't be getting Toriasi back fighting. Last week she won, and he had air plugs, I think, for first time on her last week. I didn't think she responded perfectly. I know the dam. I was there when we broke the dam. The dam was the water knockout. The dam was very, especially in the mood, and the same thing is What a Bit Hanover. So she is not easy, What a Bit Hanover. So on a speed, she is so fast. But in this race here, I don't know how I'm gonna play this race here, because Luna Lovegood, I don't like. She made a break directly after the gate. Woogish, I tried like John, like last time we all were a little on the Woogish bandwagon, but getting Jason Bartlett to win a stake race at Meadowlands with a trotter would be impossible. Todd McCarty back now could maybe bring value. I'm not sure if he is good enough. Deja Blue is maybe the fastest horse, but then how do you get Tact or Nancy horses in her? No, she had 2 weeks. I expecting them to be better. The girls, Deja Blue is maybe one of the fastest fillies she have in the barn. Wallspeed, she did a good race last time for Tron. And you always get value for Tron, especially on the Meadowlands in the stake races. Miss Belmore, she didn't beat anything last week, but when she is on her A game, and we know Noel always have them ready when it gets to the big races. And I think I'm gonna try, because guys, I only bet pick 4 and pick 5. I'm gonna try to beat What a Bit Hanover, because I have a couple of other singles. But I understand if she wins, she wins. But she only gonna be a 1-5, 2-5, and I don't want to bet Aki 1-5.
I mean, this elimination also has that added element of what are these other fillies going to do? And I think you were kind of touching on this, Thomas, because last year, Deja Blue she's supposed to be good too. She's a foal from Atlanta. Atlanta was one of the few fillies who was able to win the Hambletonian. Vogish comes from a really good family. Most recently, they had Venerable, who was more of a 2-year-old. sensation as a 3-year-old. I don't think she even made the Oaks final. I think she broke in the elimination, if I remember correctly, or maybe she broke in the final. But that aside, Vogish seemed like she was going to be on the upswing into her 3-year-old season. I would argue maybe she hasn't had the opportunity. And Luna Lovegood as well. She was, 1-9? 1-2 in the Breeders' Crown final. And she lost to Lady Landia. Never even got into the mix. Mike, I think that's probably the biggest key to this race. What are the chances that maybe one of these horses are able to wake up if they are going to be what we thought they would be as a 2-year-old?
Yeah, I think it's worth. I like what Thomas says. I think that this is a race that's worth taking a shot and taking prices and why not try Vogish again? That race back on June 20th was very sharp, 26-1 kick there. You get tied back. I think that's huge for this horse, and they're going to go forward. And last time, really no chance whatsoever. Just throw that race completely out from that post. I do think that this one, is worth a shot. I'm not crazy about the 4, the Wall Speed. I just thought that horse got a really nice drive last time. Very nice trip, very nice drive, especially from the 11 post there. So I don't know, maybe we'll take more money than I would want. I could see using the 5 in the race. I could see using the 1 because there's a lot of potential there. She just needs to stay flat. So there's not a lot of value, but I do think she's worth using in a race that you're trying to beat What a Bid in here. And John, the reason I asked that question, I just think that maybe Lady Landia is just a little more talented than this one. We'll see what happens. I think they'll both be in the final, and then, they'll match up and we'll find out. But I don't know. What a Bid we can win, but we'll see. 2
things to kind of factor in, though, is again with the What a Bid. I know Thomas said you weren't overly impressed with her effort. That's a good filly that was on the front in our Duchess, though, who can, sprint as well. She had a good one on her back too, Conversano, who has really taken a step forward as well. And What a Bid separated herself from a filly who worked out a nice second over trip behind her in that stretch drive and has shown a nice late kick. She's really developed into a nice sophomore, a nice filly in her sophomore campaign. And another thing is we haven't seen her without the shoes yet. So just imagine
it's going to be exciting to see
if it when they pull the shoes. I don't think it's a matter of if. I think they will.
They will maybe do it. They maybe will do it in the final, but
I don't think she'll find another gear. They just all seem to kind of find another gear when they race.
Yeah, 100%. But then it's going to be exciting to see who he drives. Yeah, I have a feeling that we can see James McDonald on Lady Landia in the final.
Yeah, well, he guided her to Breeders' Crown title, so I wouldn't surprise me there. Luna Lovegood, though, Marcus Melander, when I did interview him last week, said that she needed that start. Unfortunately, she couldn't stay trotting, but this is a filly that was favored in the Breeders' Crown final, right? And quickly, Miss Belmar, this is a filly a lot of us liked in that Breeders' Crown final last year. She had a big shot. She opened up a lead, and Lady Landia was able to pick her off. But this is a pretty good group, though. A nice group of fillies that we have in here, I think. Miss Belmar is a nice value.
This is one of the better races, I think.
But all eyes are going to be on What a Bid Hanover for sure. And if you try and beat her, you're going to get some value. That's for sure.
And speaking of, probably the best of the Hambletonian eliminations comes in the last of the 3. It's probably the marquee matchup of the evening. Race number 10, 7 go postward. We have a rematch here between Maryland, who draws the outermost post in the field of 7, and Go Dog Go, who I would argue handily put away Maryland in that sprint to the finish. And I mean, that was the discussion we were having on the Meadowlands Pace Roundtable, is we knew Go Dog Go probably had a better turn of foot. It was a matter of just where would he be in position to Maryland. Maryland got a more conservative steer than I was expecting, and that, in my mind, was to his demise because he really couldn't match Go Dog Go's kick. So Thomas, first things first, this seems like Maryland's behind the ball at the start. Go Dog Go can get into any position he wants. It seems like he can reach his top gear more efficiently than Maryland is able to. This is a situation where unless we think Nordic Catcher is going to take a big step forward, Hidalgo is going to take a big step forward, it seems like another elimination where you can probably just lock in on the horse in form, and that's Go Dog Go, don't you think?
I disagree. Okay. This is maybe one of my maybe the hardest race for me, the handicap, because I don't know how this scenario is going to play out, because I don't think Dexter want to be too far away with Maryland, but he have good horses on the inside that all can leave. We know Yannick going to be aggressive with Hidalgo to put him in position. We know that Aki, I think last time, go and watch that replay when he was third there. He was just sitting, holding on him the last 2/8 of a mile just to save him because he know he was not close to the two others. And I know if he put the air plugs and maybe close bridle or something, I wouldn't be shocked if he tried to take no prisoners with Nordic Catcher in this race. I wouldn't be shocked if he tries. The only thing we know that is Todd McCarthy not going to cut this mile with Dogo. He need to rate him. He's little nutcase coming out to the track, going behind the gate, and Todd had been doing an amazing job with him. He going to race him from a helmet where it's going to be, and you could see last time when he pulled him 3/8 of a mile, he had so much more speed than Maryland on the first 1/8 of the before the home stretch. If Dexter go maybe a little faster during the last turn there, I think maybe Maryland would won. But Dogo is so fast. I don't know. I never have it right with Dogo. So, and what can we say about landing on the time? Because 2:51 miles on Woodbine is impressive.
Yeah,
it is. Go ahead, Mike. My day is just Go ahead, Mike. Make my day is just enter to the Hambo. We have nothing to do there. The Roar Prince is a full brother to King of the North. I think he's at the track record when he raced first time for us last year in Harrah's in Philadelphia, and then he went down to the Bluegrass. He made a break almost as a winner the first time, and the second time he was a runaway with Timmy, and he got turned out. Come back this year, good. He is fast. The 51 mile on Poconos, time doesn't matter. He beat Cameraman, but he looked good, and he is fast. He is wicked fast. I don't think he benefits on a mile track compared to the big guns. I think it will benefit more of a 5/8. I think he can go to the final because he is fast, but he need to be third. He's not going to go to the final if he's fourth. Maryland, I'm very impressed what Marcus Melander have done with that horse, because he struggled a little as a 2-year-old with soundness, and coming back this year, he struggled more, in my opinion. And I saw him train down. I was like question marking about the Hambo, but how he managed to get him back after. We can all say the qualifier was not super impressive, and then he went up in Vernon. He was second after just a trip from Dexter. Finished good. Second in the swag. I think he raced good. Last time, I think he just got outsmarted off Toddy on the last turn. But what I've seen of Maryland, when I see him almost 4 days a week, I think he's getting into his A game. I also think that he's coming into the final sharper than many of the others. But do I going to bet Maryland in elimination? I don't know. I think I'm gonna try. Do I gonna go hard on go? No. I think I gonna have Nordic Catch on all my tickets in this elimination, because I don't trust Aki to take him off the gate. And if I know Toddy wants to save Go. Maybe he just believe in his raw speed, and I don't know what Dexter gonna do. Maybe Dexter is gonna be cutting the mile in. If I read this race wrong, because he need to float out a little, but I have a feeling that the Nordic Catcher is going to be ready for this elimination. But I my heart, if you ask me now who my Hambletonian favorite is right now, it's Maryland.
But John and Grant, correct me if I'm just operating off a week's old memory and I haven't refreshed it. But watching Go and Maryland spar in the stretch, I wasn't under the impression that Maryland was contending. I was under the impression Dexter was holding him together. And that makes me wonder what, especially in this disadvantageous post draw, he can even do. Because from post 5, I thought that was a situation where Dexter has to go to the lead. And he decided to take back.
It was 26 and 1 last quarter. So how fast can the guys trot? Like when they went the last 1/8 of a mile, you couldn't go faster than
Go could do it. He could do it easily.
I was gonna say, I think you're probably being a little bit too critical of that effort, Ray. I think it's amazing how it works when you are pegged as the best horse or bet in the division, right? And that's been the case with Maryland, who, had a phenomenal rookie campaign, comes into this, sophomore campaign, and he's been pegged with question marks all throughout, right? The qualifiers weren't ideal. Oh, he lost his first start. Meanwhile, he trots a back half in 53 and change at Vernon. Then he's second. What was his next start?
But before you get into the stuff that we already know here, John, here's my point to it. My point to it is that Go Dog Go handled those same fractions that Maryland did with less question marks. Go Dog Go was cruising. Todd was barely asking him in that back half sprint. Maryland, Dexter, it seemed like the horse wasn't moving as smoothly inside of that sprint. And just considering Go Dog Go could handle it, Maryland seemed to struggle. I understand that's a fast back half for any horse, but you got to give credit to the horse who did it effortlessly.
And I'll tell you one thing, you see, but and this is why I think Todd's drive was so savvy. Maybe he didn't want to risk getting locked into the 2-hole. His colt felt really good, but Maryland also kind of struggles with that last turn. And that's something that he's always struggled with, throughout his young campaign. So I think for Todd, he said, why am I going to take a shot and angle out at the head of the lane? I'm not convinced. I think he probably still just gets up anyways, but I don't know 100% because I tell you what, Maryland's a gamer. He will fight. If you go up alongside him, he will fight. You could see Todd had the advantage on that final turn when he took a shot. So I thought that was a great drive by Todd to pull when he did, because he didn't need to pull at that point in the mile, but he did. And I think he got the advantage, and we saw two really good colts, sprinting to the line. It's funny though, because last week I singled Go Dog Go, a win wager on him as well, because it was a match race essentially. I think we all viewed it as a match race. And the fact that we got second choice on Go Dog Go in that particular spot, I think that was incredible value. Because I think the way he was racing a lot better than Maryland leading up to that race. And we got second choice. Now coming into this Hambletonian elimination, coupled with the fact of how the post position draws have lined up, coupled with the fact that we've seen them go head-to-head already, the value is going to switch in Maryland's favor now, if you like him. And to Thomas's point, I don't think Dex is going to take back or be quote-unquote conservative with him. I think you got to – it's the Hamble eliminations now. You don't have to empty the tank per se, but you've got to be put in position. I think that he's going to be in a good spot, and he's a colt that I really do think he's capable of a bounce back effort. Quickly to your point about landing on time, really big step forward here as a sophomore. He struggled with that last turn in a big way. And what Rick Zeron did is 2 starts back, he added the trotting hopples in that overnight race, and his instructions were James is just let him trot that final turn really hard. They did not care about whether it was a winning effort or not. They just wanted to see him handle that final turn in a good way, especially with the trotting hopples. James gave him a second over trip, and he was really good. He handled it really well. He handled it even better last week. That's as good as I've ever seen him handle that final turn. So I think that's really encouraging for him. That's a big mile to Thomas's point, landing on time. I think this guy's going to have every opportunity to make the final here in this spot. I do think he could finish top 3. I spoke to Rick Zeron last night at Mohawk, and I said, man, you hooked the toughest elimination. He turned to me and said, I don't care. If I'm not good enough to be competitive with that group anyways, I'm not good enough to be in the Hambletonian. So he's confident. I think James has every reason to be confident, especially with the draw. I like him to make the final. I really do like landing on time. I'm not really worried about Hidalgo. I asked Yannick Gingras last week in a paddock interview saying his gate's not the best. They've added the trotting hopples. He's been better with them. But can the gate coupled with the speed, can they combine and be good enough to outsprint or go with these types of trotters? I think last week was an indication that he's just not with them speed-wise. So it's hard for me to like him.
But I'm going to add a couple of points with Go. That when we see it so fast, the only thing question mark I have with Go, if he's gonna go 55 to the half, he don't gonna have the same last half. Like he have the raw speed to go so fast the last 3/8 of a mile that none other horses have in the Hambletonian. We know that. But go in and look what he did in the Poconos. They went 57-1 to the half, and he blowed them. When he went 56-2 in the Reynolds, he go past them. In Stanley Dancer last time 56-1, and like John also said with Maryland on the last turn, that's why Toddy moved. Yeah. In the middle of the last turn, because he know Maryland struggled on the last turn there, and he got the head straight off. So that was just a tactic, super good drive by Todd McCarty. It's nothing bad to say about Go, but I seen him last year when they went the hard half. He didn't have the same kick.
Doesn't he seem like a different horse this year, though?
He does 100%.
Yeah.
So it's funny how those green shoes, though. sorry to interrupt, but it's amazing how sometimes you see these offspring of certain sires, and specifically Green Shoe. It's amazing how you see some of his quirks, especially mentally. But to your point, Mike, he seems to really have put it together between the years this year, and because the talent was always there last year. It's a horse we talked about endlessly.
And with Maryland, he's going to go with the same equipment, same shoes, and he's going to have cotton in his ear. They never had pullouts on Maryland. I know the plan is maybe they have pullouts on him in the Hambletonian final.
Okay.
And he is definitely a horse that should react very much on the pullouts, air plugs on Maryland. So that is maybe the most interesting information. I don't think you're going to do anything to the elimination with him.
Final thoughts on this elimination. I'll throw it to you, Mike. Just from a betting perspective, we heard John talk about how now the shoe is going to be on the other foot, where Maryland will most likely be second choice off of that victory by Go Dog Go. Are you of the inclination that Maryland is inherently then a bet inside of this race, or are you looking in other directions, say the example of Ox Fenstedt maybe stealing with Nordic Catcher?
Yeah, I just don't know what kind of trip Maryland gets in the race. That's the whole problem. I think that this draw for this horse is a problem here because he's landed in a really tough elimination. And a lot of these horses, like Go Dog Go, I mean, we know what he is, it seems like, so far this year. But like John said, landing on time is improving rapidly. And the fact that they're here tells you all you need to know about that. And he's inside him. He's going to go now. I think they're going to try with this horse. And then, as Thomas says, Nordic Catcher's going to be forward too in this race. So what kind of trip does Maryland get? Does he get second over in here? I mean, do you really want him at 6-5, 7-5 in this race with that kind of trip in an elimination? Not really. I don't want him at all, honestly. I would rather have the Nordic Catchers. I'd rather have the landing on times in the race. Even maybe, I know that Thomas says, like Rogue Prince, look how fast he is. I mean, can he beat these horses? Maybe, maybe not, but you're going to get a price. You're going to get separation in multis. If you can get that horse down in an elimination, maybe he is just getting bevered. Maybe he is faster than some of these horses. Maybe he gets the right trip. So, no, I would be against Maryland totally in this race. I'm not saying that he doesn't, that he can't win, but he hasn't won so far this year And you want him from the outside post in the elimination race where they're still trying to figure him out? No, I don't want him.
Let's talk about the final elimination of the whole evening, and it's also the final elimination of the Hambletonian Oaks. Feels like a polar opposite situation. So much to talk about in the match between Maryland and Go Dog Go in the last of the Hambletonian eliminations. But I would argue this comes up the lightest of the three Hambletonian Oaks eliminations. That could potentially be to the benefit of Conversano to the pylon post, who was, in my mind, handily beaten out of post 10 last time to What a Bit Hanover, our Duchess. But, to keep tabs with them and finish third, a solid mile. She seems poised to try and go her usual effort. But otherwise, this is a group of what feels like stragglers in the division. And I'll include Oak Grove faithful, a Perfect Annie here. I was not impressed with how she backtracked in the Del Miller Memorial, but maybe Team Pinsky can play with the shoe or something like that to put her into a better spot in this elimination. Otherwise, Mike, this could be a race too where you can find some value, because I feel like Conversano is going to take all of this money, and at the same time, she's a good speed horse, but I don't really know that she is like that much better than some of these.
I think she is, but
okay. So what do you
You're Mike
of Todd McCarthy being listed on Tarasi in this race after the fact that that Yannick didn't move on her last time and basically got her trapped in. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who's going to end up on this horse, but I do find that interesting. This race is, I don't know. It's just nothing really reached out to me. I don't like a Perfect Annie. I guess Conversano is going to be the favorites, and she had a tough post last time. She's inside now. I mean, what's going to beat her in this race? I don't like the 2. I don't like the 4. I don't really like the 7. So, I mean, where do you go? Where's all this value that you want, right? Because I don't see it.
Well, it seems like it's only in my head because I'm going to go to John next because he thinks that, you think Conversano's hand, you want to give her the check now in this elimination? Just call it all off?
Yeah, I really think that nobody can go with her late in the mile. I think that Conversano showed the ability. I was so impressed with her qualifiers last year as a rookie. and she wasn't really able to kind of piece it together during a rookie campaign that saw her win just twice in 8 tries. This year, seems to put it all together. Everything seems to be kind of put together. That was, again, she was third behind a couple of fillies who I think we can agree that maybe are just that are probably just a notch above her. I mean, I think we can agree what a bit Hanover kind of has proven that she's probably above from a talent perspective right now over Conversano. I think Conversano's inching closer to a filly like our Duchess, though. I really do. I think that Conversano's got speed. She's got an inside draw to work with. And again, I think this is a filly who's going to merit a lot of respect in here. And the versatility is what has been at display, though, for this filly, because she used to be one who would always close late for a piece and always, be a threat late. Now she's doing it every which way. Andy's moving her early on in miles. She's been able to kind of take matters in her own hands the rest of the way, and she's trotting sub-28 final quarters consistently. I just don't see anybody else in the spot who can go with her. I think this is the lightest elimination, but I think that this is one that clearly stands out on talent. And Teresi had a tough trip, but I still wanted to see more pop at the end of her mile last time. I didn't see that same level of pop. So Conversano is single for me. I'm not even going to try and get creative here.
I just went to peek if we had final drivers. We don't yet at 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon, because I am curious if Todd's going to stick with a Perfect Annie or go to Teresi. I do feel like you could maybe get some insight then on where a Perfect Annie could be, even though he seems to pledge allegiance to Carter Pinsky more often than not. But my thought here is RCC is the most intriguing of all of them. I know that she doesn't have the same resume as some of the others inside of this group, but I also feel like she's been methodically brought along. She was terrible on the lead 3 starts ago. I'll forgive her. She's just been terrible on the lead, period. So I'll forgive her for that. She's been, I think, sneakily interesting in her recent starts. That now is a 2-2 starts back behind Best Friend's Girl, Oak Grove Horse. She was able to fire home well last time. She was trying to gain in that Yo Tilly race, but again, it was a situation where just being that far back, you're only going to gain so much. I'm really curious what James McDonald does inside of this spot. Maybe she's not a 51 type trotter, and maybe you just submit to Conversano. But what if RCC is like 30-1? She can get second. I feel like
197 to 1 last time.
That's even better. That sounds like it'd be a $60 exacta behind the 1-9 shot. I feel like this is a race where you might be able to milk something like that, because they're like, I don't think it's as simple as 1-7 inside of this spot, because Teresi in my mind is probably the second choice, just guessing on this field. And I'll leave a Perfect Annie some room too to potentially show something here. But Thomas, I'll give you last word on this elimination. Is Conversano really that unbeatable here?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with John's bandwagon here. It's hard for me to find any value because I don't like too many horses. Toriassi is not a gamer for me. She beat what a bit up in Woodbine, and she was. I think Yanni gonna go with Toriassi. I would be shocked if not. Then a Perfect Annie is gonna go with Tori. I had the Perfect Annie last time as a long shot, and she got a perfect trip. Maybe she just needed that mile at the red mile. She was supposed to qualify the week before, and Nifty took the wrong horse, so she got scratched. A Perfect Annie on her A game is maybe the horse who is maybe closest. El Nightwish that we have, when she won on Bern, that was impressive up there, and she was short last time. She had been a little sick coming into the Tompkins, but she should maybe be a little better. I wouldn't be shocked if El Nightwish go to the final, but it's not much to talk about. It's Conversano, or if I get beat, maybe I'm gonna have a couple of. If a percentage, maybe I'm gonna on the pick 4. I'm gonna maybe have a couple of dollars of Perfect Annie because I think she on her A game is a good horse. The other ones, I'm not high on any of them.
I do wonder what RCC does if she can get into a more functional spot inside of that race. Maybe Far-Fetched to win, but you're going to get Far-Fetched odds as a result. As Mike said, was like 200-1 from post 10, gets a better draw. If you get 100-1 from a better draw, I think, why is that not worth $2 inside of an elimination like this? Stranger things have happened inside of these Hambletonian Oaks eliminations, which are on Saturday at the Meadowlands. Thanks to all of you guys, Thomas Svensen, John Rallis, Mikee P, for coming on to this discussion. Again, on the In the Money Media YouTube channel or on the podcast feed. Be on the lookout for the Adios Roundtable, where we talk about some of the stakes action over in Western Pennsylvania. The Delvin Miller Adios Pace for the Orchids, grade 1 event for Glamour Boy Pacers also takes place on Saturday, July the 26th. We have coverage of that. And of course, greater coverage on the In the Money Media Network of Saratoga, Del Mar. All the thoroughbred avenues are covered, but you can expect us to have more coverage of these harness races. Of course, next week, Hambletonian Roundtable incoming for the biggest day in harness racing. But that's a week's away, so we'll let you enjoy the content that you have now, and we'll see you then on that Harness Players Podcast. Bye-bye.